Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Rebel Pro Psychic Show with your host, Athena Silver.
Hi, guys. I'm Anya River.
We have such an interesting episode planned for you guys tonight, an interview of a very special and influential guest. And I'm so excited. I'm totally a fangirl, but whatever. You guys are going to love it.
This is a huge night, and we're so happy that you're all joining us. So stay tuned. So we are so excited to introduce author and Curandera, Erika Buenaflor.
Erika has a master's degree in religious studies with a focus on Meso-American shamanism and healing. She has been a practicing curandera for 20 years, and she is an amazing author of books about curanderismo. Welcome, Erika. We are so happy you came on, and it was lovely to speak with you.
Thank you, Athena. Thank you, Anya. So yes, I'm going to be talking about my book, Sacred Energies of the Sun and Moon, and interweaving some of the practices, some of the mythologies about the different times of the day and how we can use it in our everyday life. And also some of my favorite things I like to do with working with the sun and the moon and different ceremonies and different intentions and how to interweave working with both the sun and the moon.
I'm a professional tarot reader. And tarot is like my heart and soul. I love how you incorporated tarot into this book. I am not happy with most tarot books, but I have to say what you have included, I'm like, I love this. The way that you worked with tarot when you were working with the morning, the sunrise, that never dawned on me. I am a night worker, so the thought of A, getting up that early, and B, pulling out my cards in the daytime like that, it was like that light bulb moment for me. And just the way that you were able to express how to take a situation that you're seeing and work it with intention and energy and love to change it into something else it was really beautiful, I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, it definitely comes from that understanding too. I mean, that's what they did a lot, even in bringing a baby into this world. They did it when it was like the sunrise, and right there they were doing a reading, but they were also creating at the same time too, by looking at it and then like saying, like manifesting something and bringing it in and using the power of creation and recreation and birth during the morning. So it was believed that was in the morning when you were doing divination, because it was believed that and it's still to this day, it's still to this day, a lot of the curanderics, especially the Maya, they have a very strong belief that when they're doing a reading, tarot reading, it's also about creation. Because they're going to tell you what they are, but those are probabilities. They're statisticians. Those are probabilities. And if you want that to go this way, you need to do X, Y, and Z. So they would do ceremonies around that to do readings and creating something into being.
I have worked with tarot that way, as in the guise of doing a reading for myself, assessing a situation and asking my ancestors and spirits, like, what do I need to do to really seal this in? And they'll tell me, either burn another candle or, have some bath or some suggestion or some herb to work with. And it's just, again, I never thought sunrise. It was like revolutionary. So the other question I had for you was the working with the midnight rites with tarot. You called it La Cruz, which is the cross. It was a wonderful tarot spread for manifesting and for seeing things that were hidden. And it was very interesting. Can you explain a little bit about how you came across that, or how it was taught to you, or how you came up with it? Because it was really interesting.
Sure. The first time it was done for me, I was seeing one of my mentors down. He's actually in by the Chetumal area. He was one of the caretakers of the sacred sites, Don Fernando. And I was basically going in, one of my mentors, Malina, sent me to him. And at the time, I wasn't going there for mentorship. I was going there for myself for Olympia, to like clear some stuff, right? Because I knew there was something going on. And she's like, go to him.
Yep. Clean off the ick.
Yeah, exactly. And it was really amazing how he did it. I mean, he used the day sign cards, and they were just like the actual Zolkin, the divinatory day sign cards of the Maya. And then he put them out in a cross, and the middle one was basically like the theme, right? It's like something that explains like what is going on. And at the time, I just was like, I didn't know, like there was just something funky going on.
Yeah.
And then, at the side of the West, that's basically which is the underworld, like a gift that I have, or something that I have that I haven't been, I just haven't been made myself aware of. Right. And then another one was, on the East, which was a side of the gift that I have, that I do have, that I just haven't been using. And then at the very South, it was a side of basically a path that I'm going on. Like it basically tells me like what my path is looking like, what have been the influences. And then at the North was a space of, this is the éxito. This is what the outcome looks like. Right. And then he used various ones, but the first time he used corn. Sometimes he put flour, sometimes he put water. He put, the one that I have in the book is like the basic one, but then he made like more complicated things too. And he would always teach me different readings. But the tirada, that cross, or that throw, that was basically it, like showing like a story of what's going on and helping me to see. And it was very interesting, because after that, after the Olympia, he gave me the reading. He just looked at me. He's like, it's like, I don't remember like the price that he charged. I was like, what?
In a good way or a bad way?
Oh, it was like expensive. I had to go to the ATM. I was just like, whoa, my head was like blown off. I was like, whoa. And he's like, you need it. He's like, I'm gonna, there's some stuff going on that I need to do. And I kind of knew, and I was like, okay. And then I was riding home and riding from the Chetumal area, and I was going back to where I was at, which was Bacalar, back to Malina. And on my way back, my tires blew out. Okay.
Wow.
And I was riding, and it wasn't like, it's not the US where you have like a phone, like a phone, like
you're in the dirt and the dust.
No, and not just that, but like on the right side of me, it was like, it's like a cliff pretty much. Not like a cliff, but it was like, if my car would have went off, I would have just bam, been done.
You would have been done.
So it just like, luckily I spotted, I felt something. So I pulled over immediately. And at that time, the week that I went there, the week before, there had been a hurricane that came in and wiped out many of the villages. So I was there, and I didn't know what I was going to do, because I didn't have a phone, I was like in the middle, like kind of like nowhere. There wasn't like, there was nothing.
It must have been terrifying.
It was one of those things that I just knew that I was going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I was like waiting there, and I think like maybe within an hour, these white, they're called like angels, or like angel, that they're called angels, that they actually go into the indigenous when there's like a crisis like that. They go into a lot of the indigenous villages, and they help feed them, they help care for them. They actually happen to be driving by, happen to like help me change my tire so I could get back. And
they're called angels. So
yeah. And it was one of those things that I knew that what he had done, like, because he's like, no, there was something definitely like big going on.
And that could have been a lot worse.
Exactly. And it was just like everything. I was just like, oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So so since we're on the personal side, I have to ask you, reading your first book, you talked about the accident that you had. When I was reading that book, I was drawing a lot of parallels to my own story about chronic illness and the places that it took me and what I got out of it. And I wanted to ask you, when it was happening, did you feel like your gifts were opening up? Like you were brought to a place that most people don't go?
it was one of those things for me to like, I had to stop doubting.
Mm-hmm.
Because before that, I really was fighting it. I was really fighting it. And I remember even my second year of law school is when I met my first set of mentors. And I remember my first limpi that I had with Don Tomas, he looked at me and I told him, I was like, oh, my law school, I'm going to be an attorney. He began just laughing hysterically. And he's like, you're not going to like it. That's not who you are. And I just was like, okay, that's fine, but I'm going to do what I'm going to do, I'm going to be doing social justice issues. And I was very, and I'm still very much like into things like that, but it just took on a very different mindset that I was at. So after my accident, it was like, I knew that if I continued to doubt, I was going to be handicapped the rest of my life. I was going to be in a wheelchair the rest of my life. And I mean, it was just like thing after thing. I mean, when my bones came out of my heel, they put my bones back in with the bacteria, and I got severe myelitis. And then 6 weeks later, they're like, we're going to have to amputate your foot.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I knew at that point, it's like, and I heard, and I remember I was like lying down and I heard, and I don't know how I knew who it was, but I knew Archangel Michael told me to use the Blu-ray. I didn't know how it was Michael. I didn't know. I didn't question it. I was like, I am blue. I am blue. The moment I did that, I saw myself outside of my body, and I saw myself shape-shifting, and I saw these electrical surges going through my body, and I saw myself as beings that artists have painted with this blue aura around them, as Mikael, as Krishna, and just different beings. And then the next morning after my surgery, the doctors didn't give me anything different. I was on the same IV antibiotics I had been on. They had already done 3 debridements, and the bacteria wasn't going away. It was eating at half away of my bones.
Yeah.
And that morning, it just changed like that. I got to keep
That's amazing. That's incredible.
But there were like so many things, because I was so friggin' stubborn. I think if anything, it was opening in the way that like everyone was like, all my answers were like, really, you're going to be that stubborn? Okay. You're going to learn the hard way.
That's the part I really, truly connected with. For me, I went into depression. And what hit me was when they told me that I was going to be in pain for the rest of my life. It took me about a year and a half to like settle into what that meant. And part of me was like, had to have a funeral for the life that I thought I was going to live. And when I went through that act of grieving and releasing it, I could see things differently. I was like, at the point before that, I was literally waiting to die, sitting around, closing everything off, pushing everybody away. And when I decided I need to live, I need to find something to live for, that's when spirituality really stepped in and put everything back together for me. And I needed like the kick in the ass, down the hill, down a perpetual flight of stairs, before I was like, all right, I hear you, that I'm gonna, answer the phone. Please stop. You're going to kill me.
Yeah.
It was interesting to read your account of what you went through, because it definitely made me realize like, okay, I'm not alone in this, that this happens.
Yeah.
In an extreme case.
It was definitely like, a big thing is just opening me up to so many different traditions. I just started paying attention, because I didn't grow up Catholic. And I remember I was walking by, back when I was still working as an attorney, I was walking by my secretary's desk, and I heard, because that morning I saw this saint with these animals all around him, and I was told, Saint Francis of Assisi, and I had kind of heard it, but I didn't know. And I started seeing the story, and then I was walking by our office, and they're like, by our desk, and they told me, ask her about him. So I turned and I asked her, I'm like, do you know about Saint Francis of Assisi? And she had just been to the cathedral like that weekend and heard all these pictures and all these stories. And just to listen, like that really helped me just to be more humble and listen.
I
That's
had
what
a
it really forced me to be. I mean, it was that was more than anything to stop, because it's the ego that wants to question things, that wants to doubt everything, wants to have everything precise. It was just like, you know what, just be humble, just embrace and listen and just roll with it.
Yeah.
That's
I had a
great advice for
similar,
everybody.
yeah, I had a similar experience with Our Lady of Guadalupe. I went through about a 6 month period where I was seeing her image everywhere. I was meeting all these people that had a connection with her. And finally, I was like, I just need to ask what's up. And I looked up her story and just the connection that she had to the indigenous people, what she came and represented, and just even the physical parts of her story that are left. Like, I don't know, like I felt such a deep connection to a culture that's not mine, but it felt like it was so close to me. It was very strange, but it put me on this path of trying new traditions, opening up and learning about people and what people think. And it brought me to the conclusion of, we are all the same. We just call each other different names. We live in different places and we practice different things, but we are all in this. So it's really cool to see how you can be connected to somebody else so far away on the map, but still have that deep spiritual connection.
Yeah, and the opportunity to learn each other's nuances.
Definitely.
And learn stories, right?
Yeah, and share. The best part is the sharing.
Yeah.
So let me say, okay, so my next question is, what are the necessary steps to get into practicing curanderismo? Like, how would you say to somebody who's never heard of this practice before, like, how do you introduce it to them?
Well, I mean, I think it's going to look different for everybody and depend on where you're at, because, I mean, the thing is, we live in a very different time. Back in the days, because one of the things that there's different a lot of misconceptions about curanderismo. Sometimes people they think that curanderics, and I say curanderics is incorporating everybody,
Yes.
that they would go and you'd go to them and they would mentor you. But it was really like a craft that was taught within the family, within certain knits, close, it was because it was something that was their livelihood. It was a trade. It was something that was valued. It wasn't like you just go to me teach me this and they would teach. I mean, this was something that was usually done within the family because it was part of a trade. It was something that it was believed that their son or their daughter, their granddaughter would have the don, the gift, the healing gift from God. So even then, it's how they would learn. It was usually within the family or a relative, something along those lines.
It's like that way with brujeria. In a lot of, there's close family traditions. So it's interesting that it's very similar.
And over the many years, it has changed. It has changed because it also depends on what part of the Americas you're at too. Because, in different parts of Mexico, it looks radically different in the Yucatan that it does in Chihuahua or in Oaxaca, or it's just very much so, because in the Yucatan, where I did a lot of my mentoring, it was a lot more indigenous. It was just a lot more my indigenous influence traditions. So it's different where you go. And in terms of the mentors there were, they and how it worked with me, I wasn't intending ever on being a curandera. I wasn't I'm going to grow up and be a curandera. That never
the same way.
It just didn't. I had a different plan, I had different plans, but all my mentors were like, what are you doing? Even my professors in college, when I told them I was going to be an attorney, they're like, why would you do that? I was like, what?
Well, you needed to get through it. It comes in handy.
I think nowadays, what's really beautiful too, what's coming out with a lot of, the younger generation, or I'm part of that too, whatever. The new generation say that a lot more people are coming out of the closet and saying, or they're just coming out and embracing that and being a part of community, and they're being, they're learning the ways of curanderismo. they're reading books, they're learning, because now we have access to so many things on a virtual side of life. And then having community where you can have it in person and a virtual community where those things are like you weave, and then you take a lot of the classes, you read a lot, and you start practicing, and you start bringing it in. And honestly, because it took me 18 years to really come out and say, yes, I'm a curandera.
Yeah.
Even though my mentors had told me a long time, like, this is who you are, but there were a lot of things within me that I was like,
Yeah, no, I understand. I feel the same way when I have studied, shamanism in different forms and curanderismo for a while, and I still don't feel comfortable. Like it's to the point where it's a spiritual practice for me. Yes, I may offer help here and there, but I'm doing it ultimately to enrich my soul and to fulfill my purpose, and I guess maybe one day I will get down the road to where I'm open about it, but for now it's like, I just want to keep it for me,
Yeah. No, I do know. Absolutely.
It means more that way. I don't know, for me, somehow one day I'll get up the nerve, but not today.
Well, what's very different too about curanderismo? You can't get a certificate.
Yes, 100%.
Because a lot of people feel like they want to get a certificate in X, Y, or Z because that will give them validation.
Yes.
That will give them, they have, initials behind their name, or, that will give them validation in their healing practice. But honestly, what gives validation is practice, community, word of mouth, and, having people share stories about you, and, just doing what you do. And, curandera will never be like, here's your certificate. In it's just not, it's not so, it's a tradition that brings you in. It's literally something that the practice, the ancestors, everyone in the community, like, they take you in, and like, you accept each other and you embrace each other.
I'm just hoping somebody writes it on my tombstone at the very least. That's when I'll come out. It's after the fact. Oh, she was a lovely curandera, but she never told anybody. I have a question that's related to what you were talking about. I've noticed that it is a little bit harder when you are an English speaker to find proper mentorship, especially an old school one-on-one mentorship. It's been an ongoing problem for a friend.
For curanderismo?
For curanderismo, for shamanistic practices, animistic practices, it's very hard.
Well, I mean, it depends on where you want. Because, like, for example, Cheo Torres, he has a class on curanderismo at the University of New Mexico.
And I love him.
Yeah, and he actually has online courses on curanderismo. You won't be able to take in about in the temazcal, the sweats, because he does have that. He interweaves that in his classes. But I mean, there's a lot more people out there that it's much more accessible. It's much, much more accessible. It's like, I mean, when I started, it's like I was going to Mexico like every 4 months, and I was studying. 4 to 6 months, I was going continuously, and I still go. I mean, I'm still, and that's the one thing too, is that as in this practice, you never stop being a student.
100%.
Right now, I'm like, when I'm going there, I'm going to have a place in Isaman. There's actually Yerbero that I still learn from. I'm still like, and I'm going to be like having a few days of mentoring with him, as the years go. It's like one of those things that, if you have somebody willing to share their traditions, that's beautiful. But the curanderismo nowadays is a lot more accessible.
Yeah.
Significantly more accessible.
So much for coming on. I appreciate it, and I appreciate all the wisdom that you have given us through your books and your research. It's really nice being on the outside, looking in from the sidelines, seeing a fellow Latina doing her thing. It's really nice.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Erika, it was such a treat, such a pleasure, and I'm so happy that you came and spent time with us tonight.
And we're definitely going to have you on again.
Yes, definitely.
And I can't wait to read the next book. I have been waiting for it. I'm so excited. So this is Erika's book, The Sacred Energies of the Sun and Moon. She talks about Curanderismo from the perspective of working with indigenous Meso-American deities for the sun and the moon and the different phases in which to work with them. It was very interesting. It's a very easy, understandable read. She gives great pointers and rituals and tips and tricks. It's a really well-rounded book. I suggest everybody get it. It's available at realizeyourbliss.com. Can you tell people how they get a hold of you?
They can go to realizeyourbliss.com. And I have their events, I have the books, I have a lot of different things there and different sessions and all kinds of fun stuff.
Her classes are awesome, by the way, highly recommended. I speak from experience.
Yeah.
Well, for all of you, we thank you. I'm Athena Silver. I'm a professional psychic medium, a healer, and a teacher myself. If anybody would like a tarot reading or a mediumship reading, my website is readingswithathenasilver.com. My Instagram is athena.silver. My Facebook is Readings with Athena Silver. And my TikTok is Athena_silver. How about you, Anya?
Hi, so I am a certified past life hypnotherapist and tarot reader, and you can reach me at Anya River, ANJARIVER, at Facebook and Instagram.
We go live every Thursday on YouTube and on all podcasting apps. We put out an episode, so if you want to track us and see what we're up to, make sure you like, subscribe, and follow the Rebel Crow Psychic Show. Have a beautiful night. Bye.